Blessings, family. Coming on with another random thought. So tonight's random thought is about etiquette, right? Etiquette. Etiquette. Um, some people might say etiquette. Etiquette. I say etiquette. That's that Brooklyn accent altogether, right? So etiquette, when people think of etiquette, they think of social etiquettes, right? Like when you go to dine and how your fork is on one side and your knife is on the other, and your glass is placed in a certain place to the right, and the wine glass is to the left, and all of this, the water glass. That would be what people think of like a dining etiquette. I want to talk about people etiquette, right? So people etiquette, like let's see, uh, etiquette in Africa versus etiquette in the US versus YouTube. We won't start with YouTube. We'll save that for last, right? So we'll start with Africa first. And I want you all to listen to these concepts. And then I want you to tell me whether you agree or disagree. And maybe you'll even add to this list, right? So I have, it's interesting because when you go on, Google or whatever the case is, for West Africa, it's usually something that is not written by an African person, but it's some person with their concept of what is expected of them. So, what they have for West Africa is, although West Africa is changing, social mores remain conservative. Most locals don't expect you to know all of the rules and will forgive any faux pas. Faux pas is a French word for like mistakes, right? So, even so, please keep in mind the following guidelines. Attitude is the first one. They have attitude, they have Islam, PDAs, P is in Paul, D is in dog, A is in apple, PDAs, photography, and conversation topics. So they have like five big ones, right? And the first thing is attitude. If you're in a frustrating situation, be patient, friendly, and considerate. A confrontational attitude can easily inflame the situation, especially when dealing with police officers and immigration officials, and offend local sensibilities. What are they saying, right? Basically, what they're saying is, I know coming from the West, many of us are very impatient. We don't like waiting on things, right? We're used to getting quick service. We're used to being taken care of right away. It's impersonal, but we're used to being taken care of right away. So I know when we would go to restaurants, we'd go hungry, right? Because we've been out all day, we haven't eaten, and we'd be ready to eat. And you get in there and you're ready to order your food, and either you're waiting way too long for really good food, or they bring you what you didn't ask for. So when you're in a situation like that, they're saying exercise patience. Like, don't be confrontational, don't be mean, um, inconsiderate. Don't do that. Because I remember I was in a restaurant called Casey's in the Gambia, and a young lady, everything I asked her for on the menu, they didn't have. So I'm like, well, why do you have a menu if you don't have what's on the menu? Why don't you just tell me what you do have? She looked so uncomfortable, like, why are you getting angry at me? And I changed my tone immediately because I realized how I might have sounded to her. And I said, just let me know what you have on the menu, please. And then you could see her kind of like, but she literally like backed up when I was talking, right? And so, we'll roll our eyes and we'll be huffing and puffing, and they be looking at you like, what is wrong with this individual? Because to them, it's not that serious. And they're right, it really isn't. But when you're hungry, you're impatient. I don't know about you all, but I get hangry, right? And that is like, let me see, what is our word? Uh, it's like you're hungry and you're angry. So the word is hangry. So I get hangry. I'm one of those people. When I don't eat, my patience gets really short. I don't want to hear nothing. I'm a little agitated, and I'll be ready to leave folks behind if they're not ready to get me some food, right? So don't let me go somewhere with a group of people and they can't make up their mind where they want to eat. Girl, boy, they will turn around and I will be nowhere to be found. When they do find me, I'll be sitting somewhere eating. I have no patience for stuff like that, right? So Be patient. And I did a video on that where I talked about being patient and not letting things upset you, right? So the next one is Islam. Be respectful of Islamic traditions and don't wear revealing clothing. Loose, lightweight clothing is preferable. So, I don't know. I see. I don't really feel like this applies to me because I generally like to wear things that are loose and comfortable. But I know there's times when I've wore jeans. But you know what? Moving to the continent, I plan to give up my jeans. I don't think I ever want to wear jeans again. I really don't. But back to the topic. So maybe you might wear what we call booty shorts, right? Or punani shorts. You wouldn't do that. Not in West Africa, in a Islamic country. You don't do that, right? Because either the brothers will pull you up and let you know what you have on is inappropriate, or you will have like a bunch of people kind of taunting you like you need to do better. And I haven't heard about anybody getting hurt, but I have heard about people being told their clothing is inappropriate, go put something on, or people coming around them, kind of making them feel bad. So you might want to handle that. Um, PDAs. PDAs are public displays of affection, right? So there are some of us who, I don't know, just really inappropriate, right? Like what you do in your bedroom, you don't need to be doing in the middle of the street. Not at all. I don't like to see that. Okay. I just feel like I was raised, like, even when I had a boyfriend, I never kissed my boyfriend in front of my mother when I was growing up. We barely held hands in front of my mother. If we sat on the couch, we did not sit next to each other. He was on one side, I was on the other. My mother did not tolerate that hugging up and kissing in the street. She didn't have that. So that's the way I grew up. But I see some young people, like I remember taking my son on a Nickelodeon cruise for his birthday, right? And we were standing in line, and there was this young couple in front of us, and I think they were, I want to say Asian and Caucasian, a mixed couple. When I tell you they were so slobbing each other down, touching each other, hands under the cloak. Mind you, people standing in a line with children. So, I'm like, well, why don't y'all just go get a room? Like, you just can't keep, I mean, it's one thing to be in love, and that's a beautiful thing, but have respect for the people around you, right? So I'm all on board with the PDAs. I'm not even really one to hold hands. Like, I'm not really into that whole holding hands, hugged up, kissing on the street. Nah. If I'm walking with a gentleman down the street, I probably have my arm hooked into his arm. We might be standing close, but all of that touching and nah. Nah, so that's the issue, and I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. This is one that people get a little touchy about, and I get it. Photography, right? Which this was probably written a long time ago, but people still take pictures and people record. Like, the big thing now is phones. Everything is caught on a phone, right? So for photography, um, you should always ask permission. I know for me, I'm not going to say I try. I ask permission. The only time I would miss that if I'm so excited about something, and I may ask permission after the fact. But if I see the person is uncomfortable, I will shut it down. Right? So we've done attitude, Islam, PDAs, photography. The next thing is conversation topics. Avoid vocal criticism of the government or country. The former could get your friends in trouble, and many West Africans take the latter personally. So, vocal criticism of the government could get your friends in trouble. So maybe the people who live there would have problems, right? And the latter is people take it personally when you criticize their country. And I believe this because I had a situation where I put up a Sierra Leone flag on my logo. I didn't put it up. Someone made the introduction for me. Brother from Brainstorming Productions, XDMC, made a logo for me, and Blind Guy, his wife, their life. They sang the little theme song for me, and I put it up. He finally sent me the corrections, and I was so excited that it came in right after I finished a live with a couple who was talking about another place. So I put the thing up and I was so glad it was the right size. And it just happened to come up right after I left this other forum. So someone saw it and immediately thought that I was promoting the country. And I was like, wow, that was deep to me, because it didn't occur to me that if I put up a flag, someone would assume that I was promoting the country. I saw it because it's my new logo. It has the country, right, that my DNA comes from, which is Sierra Leone, and it has the U.S. inside of it if you look at it. So it never occurred to me. I'm thinking like they took me from this place. That's what it means to me, right? It wasn't that I was promoting another country or I don't like one country versus the other. I like all the countries I went to. I only want to live in a few of them so far, but I haven't been to all the rest. So right now, this is my choice, right? So, you want to be careful what you're doing, because you don't know how other people will perceive it just based on cultural differences, etiquette, if you will, right? So now let me take you all to the American stuff, right? Um, I mean, other things we could consider for etiquette. Let me go back 1 second. In Africa, we know people talk about like handing money with one hand and eating with another hand, right? That's important. You want to know those details. And it may not apply to every country you go to, but you want to know those details. We know that before a lot of our African brothers and sisters sit down to eat, the first thing they do, clean people always wash their hands. They will even give you something to wash your hands before you even start on a meal. And somehow, food does taste better when you eat it with your hand. Yeah, it's true. I wonder how all these years I've been eating from spoons, taking the taste out of my food, right? hmm So that's just something to think about. Other things, as far as etiquette go, uh, elders, like I've heard elders call young men their husbands, their grandsons their husbands, right? I never really heard that before. I know people say, oh, he acts like he's my husband, but not where the elder is calling a young man a husband. Like there was an elder that we met when we visited some family friends, and she just took to my son. When she saw him, she talked about how beautiful he was and he was her husband. And when he hugged her, she was so tickled. And I know she doesn't see him as her actual husband, but she's viewing him as a young man that would be strong and could care for her. And I thought that was very sweet. So just think about the etiquette, how you approaching people, how you might be perceived, and you need to know that these things could be touchy subjects and you want to be careful, like tread lightly, right? So let's move to the American stuff, because I found that the American stuff kind of interesting, um, because they always try to make it sound like America is so great, right? There's just certain things that people don't do, and everyone's equal, and that's why they're so informal. And we know that's not the case. If you know anything about America, you know that's not the case. Okay, so let me see what they have for us here. They have a guide to American culture, y'all. So let's see what they have. They have alcohol, smoking, and drugs. Drinking under the age of 21 is illegal. Now, we know on the continent you could drink at 18, right? It is a crime to serve alcohol to someone under age 21. Smoking isn't allowed in most public places. They are typically designated smoking areas. I didn't really see a whole lot of smoking on the continent. I did see some brothers on the beach who would try to come and conversate. And I'm like, please get away from me with those cancer sticks. Why would I come to a beautiful beach and want somebody smoking around me and stinking up the air? Nah. Buying and selling illicit drugs is illegal in the U.S. If you are found with these drugs, you may be arrested. I'm sure that's the same thing on the continent, right? They say that, but sure don't stop people from getting to the drugs, does it? Animals and pets. Americans tend to love their pets and see them as part of the family. I see people with pets on the continent, but I have to agree. And I'm not going to say all Americans, because I'm clear that there's a particular kind of American that moves like that. To me, a pet is a part of the household, I don't know that I necessarily view them as a family member, right? We do take care of some of them like they're our children. I do see that, the bonds, but I don't allow dogs in my kitchen. I don't believe when you live in small spaces that you should have a dog. I think that's nasty, but that's just me, right? Um, I don't think animals should be jumping on the couch, jumping on your bed. First of all, you don't have no business in my bedroom. You're a dog, okay? Um, and don't lick me in my face. Oh gosh. Yeah, no, I don't do that. But I remember one time I was cleaning with my son, and the dog, it was like he was just waiting because he know I never let him in my face. When I tell you he caught me on the side of my face, oh, you should have saw me trying to scrub my face, having a fit. And my son just laughed. He just got the best laugh ever. I was so grossed out. Um, so we have there are in the states they actually have animal protection laws to prevent animal cruelty. I don't think that's the case on the continent. I've seen people tell me how some of the Asian companies trick the dogs, act like they're feeding them, and then take them and kill them and eat them, right? Or take them away for whatever they're doing. I don't know. I was following the sister who was her aunt was in the Gambia, and she talked about this, and I thought about the animal control stuff here. Uh, so the most popular pets in the U.S. are dogs, cats, hamsters, and fish. And I would say the most popular pets on the continent, at least in maybe the few countries I went to, would be dogs. And we're not talking about farm animals. So I'm thinking actual pets. I've seen people with a pet monkey, dogs, and cats, right? Not that different. Um, Classroom etiquette. Class discussion and participation are highly encouraged. Students remain seated when the professor arrives or when the student's name is called. Attendance is expected and critical. Understanding, not just memorizing class material, is important. And some professors allow eating and chewing gum in class, right? This sounds a little old, quite honestly, because now, everybody's virtual, so I'm sure people don't care what you do. Dating etiquette. When a person says no, he or she means no. If a woman is dressed immodestly, immodestly, it is not an invitation for men. Now, they have something here. If you ask many Nigerian young adults or teenagers, the dating culture is not as prominent in Nigeria as it is in many Western cultures. However, when we do date, we have some rules that guide how we date. There are some unwritten rules or social laws. I don't know how true that is. It says it is not always the man who asks. In some cultures, women are seen as promiscuous if they ask a man on a date. In the United States, the asker is not limited by gender. Y'all could tell me whether that's true or not. I don't know if that's true. But they're saying in African culture that that's not cool for the woman to be the aggressor. Um, I don't know. I guess it depends on the situation. It's not something that I've ever really thought about doing, asking someone on a date. I do believe that the man should be the one to initiate. Um, so, this is like a touchy topic for me because, some women act real thirsty. Like some of our sisters just have like no sense of restraint, if you will. Like, let the brother at least be interested in you. And again, that's some stuff, maybe that's some old school stuff, but that's the line of thought that I come from, right? A man approaches you. A man proposes to you, right? A man shows interest in you. So that's interesting to see what you all think of that. Uh, a date is a planned activity, right? Let's see. I don't know. I saw people on dates on the continent, so I'm gonna assume that's the same. I don't know who initiated planning the date. I'm gonna assume that it's the man, right? Um, so let's see what else we have. Dressed in modesty standards. They talk about most Americans have no problem shopping in their sweatpants. Let me tell you, they done taken it down to pajamas now. Like these folks be coming looking like they just rolled out of bed. Some of them. So we're getting a little repetitive here. They talk about driving laws and etiquette. Like you can't be texting. You can't, if you're honking your horn a lot in America, it means drivers are angry. unless it's necessary. Unless they tell you limit honking your horn. It's important to have cash when you're driving to pay for tolls. Otherwise, credit cards are acceptable. We know that's not the case on the continent, right? You need cash. Um, I'm gonna leave this American stuff alone because I'm getting a little bored with it. I don't know how you all feel about it, but I don't really want to get that much into it. So let's talk about some other things, right? We were talking about etiquette, and I mentioned that situation with the spoon. And I was telling you all about what that situation was like with the spoon. So I'm gonna back this up because I feel like it's really close to me right now. Um, Thinking of some other situations where we talk about etiquette, social etiquettes, right? For example, a gentleman calls me this morning. He was just basically like, I just called to see how you were doing. I hope you all is well. He's on a continent, and I was telling him, yeah, I'm good. Everything's fine. And he said, you never called me, and I was like, well, why would I call you? It didn't occur to me to call you because you are friends with someone I'm friends with who's a female, and I don't know your situation. Like, I don't know if you're married or it never crossed my mind to call this man. Let me just say that. Okay. His thing was when he met me at the airport, he thought I was a nice person and he said he hoped to see me again. And I said, okay, yes, of course. You see somebody who will help you, you appreciate them. Um, we did not talk again after that. I think he had it in his mind that when he said he hoped to see me again, that I was going to reach out. But that didn't even click. When I tell y'all that was the last thing on my mind. So I told him, I finally, when he was telling me this morning, I'm like, I'm really surprised. Like, I don't know what to say to you. You're a friend of a friend's. I don't know what your status is with her. So it would never cross my mind to talk to you or show interest in you if I think you're with one of my girlfriends. Now, for us, that's etiquette, right? That's like dating etiquette. That's like female etiquette, that you don't mess with someone who could be the potential partner of one of your friends. So I didn't even look at him that way. So he said, no, like she and I are like brother and sister. Like, that's not our relationship at all. I said, okay, that's good to know. And I'm glad you expressed your interest. And the next time I speak to her, I'm going to let her know that you reached out. You see what I did? I'm still going to get in touch with her to make sure that he's not misinterpreting whatever vibes she might be sending to him. I don't like messy stuff. Okay. So, he put his son on the phone and his son sounded really sweet. And I spoke to him and his son, and he asked me how my son was. And then we got off the phone. But to me, there's an etiquette to that. You know, uh, then there's a thing where, some men will talk to their friends. Maybe they have another guy friend, and the guy friend break up with his girlfriend, and then his friend will go and pursue the ex girlfriend. That's not cool. Like, that's sloppy to me, right? You don't go after your man's, and I say your man because we say man like your homeboy in the States. You don't go after your boy's woman after he's not with her no more, or his baby mama, whatever you want to call it. You just don't do that. Right? That's some poor taste. The other thing is relationships with elders, right? For me, if I disagree with an elder, a lot of times I would just let it go. They don't need to know I disagree with them. What difference is it going to make? Let them be right, right? I think they've earned that they can be right. Okay, you can have it. We don't have to argue about it. We have a difference of opinion and it's cool. But some people will argue elders down, and that really bothers me because I'm like, let it go. Give the elder the right to be right. They have a right to their opinion. You don't have to agree, and you don't always have to be right, right? Another thing is being humble, right? Which I think is something that we struggle with. I'm not going to say we. I know it's something I struggled with previously. When I was younger, I had a woman say to me that I had to be humble, right? I used to work with this woman who was like verbally abusive, and she would like call you on the phone and curse you out. You're supposed to be back in the office, and she'd go on. And I would always act like we got disconnected. That's when, that was old days with payphones, right? So she started yelling, acting stupid, talking. I'll be like, click. I'll put the phone down. Oh, seems like we have a bad connection. I would hang up, or the old flip cell phones. So I remember this one time I came back to the office. I was talking to someone and I was telling him about my brother, and that he had motorcycles and this, he was a motorcycle person. And here comes the lady that I told you curse everybody out, the so-called supervisor. She comes over and she says, "Oh, well, what does your brother do?" Because that's what they do. They always want to know how we have things they don't have, right? Well, what does your brother do? And I said, I'm sorry. This was a and B conversation. See your way out. And everybody was like blown away. Because to me, my social etiquette was, if I'm not talking to you, mind your business. Especially if I don't like you, right? Because what I don't do is discuss my problems or my issues in front of people that I don't care for. You don't need to be privy to what's going on with me. I am not your concern and you're not my concern, right? So that's how I handled that situation. And that was in a professional environment. But since she was always unprofessional, when I had the opportunity, I took advantage of it, right? Other social etiquette. Um, Talking to a woman on a phone, right? You meet someone, you talking, everybody's into sexting now. How about when I talk to you, I don't want to see a picture of your private parts and I'm just getting to know you. Later on down the line, right? We can talk about where this relationship would proceed to, if we're going to be friends or if we're going to pursue something further and what that would look like. But you don't greet somebody with your private parts and then get upset when you're not talking to them like a week or two later and your pictures are all over the internet. So, yeah, social etiquette is a big thing. Professional etiquette is a big thing. Um, so we talked about African etiquette, right? What they say is African etiquette. For me, when I went into African households, I would always ask, do you want me to take my shoes off? Right? Because either I would see shoes out front or I wouldn't see shoes, but I would always ask because I didn't want to track Africa, the sand and everything into their homes. Right? If someone offered me food, I would say, like, are you sure? Because I'm going to eat, like, because I love African food. But I would ask. If I wasn't sure about something, I would always ask. I would never take it upon myself to just do it. So that, I think that's the key, right? You're going into a country that you are unfamiliar with. Ask questions. Don't assume you know. Don't try to do things like you do them in your country. You can't do that. You just can't, because it's not going to work out well for you. So talking about that made me think about how a lot of Westerners, I can't speak for the UK. I can speak for the UK, but I was there many years ago, but I didn't have any issues there. I only met like really nice people while I was there. When I'm in the US now, I'm living here all my life, right? And I come across people who don't treat each other very well. See, here's the deep part. We're not very nice to each other, but yet we go to the continent and feel like something's going to be different. I'm like, no. We go back to what I said in one of my other videos. If you saw the video where I quoted Lauryn Hill, she said, work in and on yourself, inside and outside. So, how you going to Africa talking about how you going to go do all these things, but you still jacked up? Up here is jacked up too. Hmm. Right? You need to work on yourself. You here attacking people, not receptive to information, offended if somebody says something to you. You can't take constructive criticism. You don't take very good care of yourself. You don't take very good care of your home or the people around you, but you go into Africa. Why? You can't run from yourself. You can't, because guess what? you're still going with yourself, right? You're still going to be there. So I think that's something people need to think about, right? What kind of exercise, what kind of etiquette do you exercise in your community and amongst yourself? That's deep. I tell you, y'all be getting deep sometimes. I don't know why. But this topic was on my mind because I see people showing out all the time. I even went to the UPS, right? And this woman, somebody must have hit her car door. She was in a big truck. And she was standing there and she was trying to get the door and she couldn't get the door. And I'm trying to get out my car. She's on the same side. So she sees me getting out and she's not moving. She's still struggling with her door. So I opened up my door halfway and it was like touching hers like this. She turned around. What the F? You can't say excuse me. She started going in. I looked at her and I kept going. I went right in the store to take my little package. I came back out. Now she inside the car and she inside the door trying to pull the door and everything. I rolled down my window and I said, "Sister, do you need help?" She said, "Oh, no, I'm good. I'm good." I drove off, right? That could have went in a whole nother direction, right? Could have went a whole nother direction. But I'm not letting anything get in my way of going to the continent. So y'all see how I exercised that good etiquette? That was a good thing, right? Yeah. I was proud of myself. I stayed on high vibrations. I didn't let anybody's low vibrations bring me into a place that I didn't need to go into. Because I've realized when people lash out at you, it has very little to do with you. It has more to do with them, right? They have some self monitoring they need to do. Why are you so angry? Why are you so defensive? Why are you not able to accept constructive criticism? And why do you assume that when someone says something to you, they're trying to harm you? No. You can either take it or not, you know? So now let's move to these YouTube streets because this is deep. I have to tell you, I did not know that all this stuff went on in YouTube that goes on YouTube. I'm telling you. I find it interesting how, excuse me, you'll be in the chats, right? And people just be wicked. Like some people, they be coming at the person talking, they be going at each other, and I'll be like, wow. And these people are on a continent. These people are going to the continent. How they gonna get along when they can't get along typing? But then again, a lot of people be cyber bullies, right? They got a lot to say, typing in caps, exclamation points, using foul language, saying offensive things. And then when you see them, you're like, really? Cyber bullies, right? So I don't know. But yeah, YouTube is an interesting place to really see how people behave. And my thing is like a lot of times you arguing with people and you being rude and you don't even know if it's actually a person, if it's an agent. And the thing about typing that's really kind of messed up too is there's no emotion to it, but somehow people get offended by it, right? I guess that when you put caps, people assume you're yelling. When you put exclamation points, people assume you're being aggressive. Like they've already associated a language to the words by the way it's text or typed out, which is interesting. So the other thing I notice about YouTube, people copy each other's material. If I'm gonna do a video, I like to do, maybe I just started doing this where I would do a little bit of research, right? And if I'm gonna use something, for example, I did a podcast and it was about people stealing, right? I might have did a video on it too about people stealing, robberies, burglaries, and how the community punishes and a broom trick that's used. I happen to come across these things on the internet. So in my mind, if I'm going to refer to something that does not belong to me, kind of like plagiarism when you're writing, it's only right that you give the person credit that you get the information from. So I don't want your viewers. I have no interest in any of that. But I feel like I'm being respectful if I mention you, like I mentioned someone in this video. I'm going to review it and see who it was, because they deserve for people to, if they want more information on what I said, they can refer to that individual. I didn't just pull the information out of the air, right? But I noticed that people will take things that you've done and duplicate it, and they don't give any credit in your direction. Now, me, I'm a creative person, so I like to think when I come up with things, I'm coming up with them on my own. So if you feel like I'm inspiring you and you want to imitate what I'm doing, that's fine. But throw a hashtag like, yeah, check her out, check her out. This is, you don't even have to say you got it from me, but you know you got it from me, right? Throw a hashtag, throw some appreciation. I appreciate when my fellow YouTubers throw knowledge at me, you know? So that's one thing, right? There's an etiquette to being on YouTube. Like other stuff, you'll see people come on people's channels and start talking about their channel. Why? If you're being respectful and you there to come get knowledge, then you open and you're receptive to getting the knowledge, right? You might message that person and be like, listen, I have a channel too. You know, that's cool. But you don't come on people's channel and redirect the traffic off the channel. You just don't do that. If you didn't know, now you know. There is an etiquette to YouTube. Now, don't get me wrong. Certain YouTubers may actually do that. That might be something they do. Everybody exchange information. But you have to feel out your environment. When I came on YouTube, I happened to stumble upon a group, living my best life in Ghana, who seemed very welcoming and warm, right? And I was like, cool, everybody greet each other. Everybody's so friendly, family-like. We always got positive things to say to uplift each other. It's a rare thing if you see anyone in the chat being rude, sharing information for themselves only and not thinking about the rest of the group, right? Or interrupting the panel speakers every time they talk. You don't see that. People are there to learn. So people sit and suck up the information. Like they just wait in their head of knowledge, right? And a lot of people who belong in a group have their own channels. And we all support each other. But we do not say, come to my channel because I'm doing this. No, we don't do that. We just don't, right? Because it is family-like. We look out for each other. We encourage each other. We support each other. That's just how that works. Now, don't get me wrong. I have gone to other channels and I was acting all extra friendly like I was in this group. And people was like, who is this? What's she speaking to me for? Yeah. And I realized that there is a different energy to different chats. Some chats, people stay going at each other. I don't really do those chats. Right? Yeah, I don't mess with the chats where people are arguing with each other, being rude, using profanity. I have no time for low vibrations. So whoever want to indulge, there's plenty of places where you can go for that, right? The other thing is someone making a video of material that you don't like, and then you go and make a video for hours about what that individual did. And I'm just like, that seems like a waste of energy. It's just something I have no interest in doing. If I don't like what you said, then I'm not going to subscribe to you. I'm not going to follow you. I'm not going to support you. See how easy that is? I'm definitely not going to be in your chat telling you how much I hate you. I'm not going to do that. Why would I spend my energy that way? My precious energy, right? I've even seen some panelists say some things that may have been offensive, but you know, again, don't watch them. We all have choices, but there is an etiquette to moving around YouTube. I noticed that. Yeah, I've even had some places where folks will say, they're offering something free, and you go in the chat and you're like, okay, well, where's the link for this free thing? And they said, no, you have to request it. Usually if people say there's a link, you just click on the link and you go to it, but no. So it's a different way of doing things, like, for different channels. Some channels are more news reporting channels. Some channels are more I guess, like chatting channels like this, where we're just kind of talking, kicking it, hanging out. But I felt the need to talk about this professional etiquette, because I think more of us need to learn etiquette for ourselves and our own countries and in our own living spaces, and exercise them appropriately before we talk about taking these bad habits other places, because other places may not be as understanding, right? Again, work in and on yourself, right? And then talk about going to the continent. Because one of the things I noticed about the continent is humbleness. People are humble, right? I remember someone, I think I mentioned that, someone telling me to be humble, and I was thinking, what do I need to be humble for? This woman is harassing me all the time. But I get it now. I get what she was saying. When you see people flying off the handle and acting angry, and I don't know, maybe you triggered something in them, you really have to be kind of like, wow, that's a low vibration. Like, you're just not in a good place, right? So, and the other thing that comes to mind is a friend of mine who always says, give from the overflow, right? So don't be giving that advice to people and telling people what they should do and how they should do it when you need to be working on you. You don't have enough to give. You have too much work to do. So, I try to drop jewels. Try to speak to people, and encourage people, because y'all know I always say I believe we're all amazing. But I don't spend a whole lot of time like arguing with folks. I have no interest in doing that. I'm not gonna argue. I just won't deal with you. You have a right to live in your space. I have a right to live in mine, right? Peacefully, no disruption. So, again, here we are, family. This is how we do it, right? Exercise good etiquette, no matter where you are. So, I think that's our last topic. Want to make sure I covered everything. Yeah, this was an important topic because, like I said, I want the diaspora to be able to go to the continent and mitigate any conflict. So I think this would be helpful. Exercise good etiquette. Blessings, family.